All right, here we go. And I guess we're live. Let me oil this thing a little bit more. Here we go. And we have a good surface. My name's Jose Trujillo, guys. I'm an artist. World's greatest living artist, baby. And let's do this. Let's do this. So I'm gonna start out by drawing this little. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a little train, a little choo-choo train. Start out by. And again, this is loose brush work, so nothing is really set in stone here, but it doesn't mean that. Whoa. Doesn't mean that we don't get to have fun either, right? Just because it's not set in stone. Something like that. Okay, and then the atmosphere there. Okay, so we're going to start out with the palette knife, the infamous palette knife. What I'm going to start doing is just kind of expressing where my darker tones are at in my choo-choo train. Okay, and again, even with the palette knife, you can be very loose. You don't have to be too uptight with it. Okay, be very loose with it as well. As a matter of fact, the more loose you are, the more you seem to find really that swing where things are at. Because your hands are very smart. Your hands know what to do. Many times we're trying to control them. That's really what's happening. We're trying to control them, and so things go weird sometimes because we're trying to do that. The hands are very smart. They know what to do. And you just trust in them a little bit. Just trust in them a little bit. You'll find out how smart the memory, the muscle memory, and not just the muscle memory, but even if you've never painted, if you just kind of trust your instincts a little bit, you'll do much greater things than if you don't. So you start out like that, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this thinner brush, and I want to establish a little bit of what's going on, right? Just establish it a little bit. Some too much, just a little bit. Just, establishing a little bit more. Every time you're getting closer. That's really all it is. You're getting closer every time to the you're just getting closer. That's all it really is. All we're really doing is just getting closer, step by step. Getting closer to the painting. It's almost like we're carving it in a way. without asking so much. Without asking so much. In every brush stroke, you don't want to ask so much. If that makes any sense. You just kind of... Monet used to call it patches. Patches of light, he used to call it. Patches of color, patches of life. That's really all you're doing. You're just patching your way through it. That's why I like to see it as carving, right? You're just kind of one little carve, there's another little carve. You're just sort of carving through it. That's all that's really happening. And oftentimes, the faster you go, the better it is. Sometimes you think you're going fast, but you're really just thinking a lot about it, and you're not really going fast. You're moving fast, but you're still thinking about it. And sometimes you just need to pick it up a notch and move a little faster. I know it's counterintuitive, and a lot of people don't agree with this. I understand that. But I've also experienced some things as an artist that have led me to believe that painting quick, it's really the way to paint. At least it works for me. I don't know. Painting quick is really, it's where I find it's not the most satisfaction. It's where I find the juice in a painting. And I'm really not going quickly now. I'm really going very slow. When I make these videos, I go very slow. I maybe half of what normally the speed would be when I'm painting and I'm making a video. And that's because I'm explaining and I'm talking and I'm, you know, but really, when it comes to creating artwork, expressionist artwork, really speed is your friend. Chanel says, OMG, I totally agree. I sit and overthink and then the work can look stale. Yeah, it's I found that to be almost everyone's case. I remember when I started painting, the need to control a painting, it's your worst enemy. I know two things about painting. I just know two things. You cannot paint better than you can at this moment. Like, you're not going to all of a sudden, just because you spend more time on it, do a much better job. That's number one. Like, you have a skill set, whether you do it fast or you do it slow, you have a skill set. And just because you take your time with it doesn't mean that you're going to paint it any better. So that's one of the things that I've learned. Another thing that I've learned is that speed allows you to tap into a different intelligence that you otherwise would not have, would not be available to you had you not started using speed. And what happens is that we become complacent. We become very complacent. Chanel says, I go back and forth with wanting to obsess with the details and hate how the work looks. Yeah. Again, you know, it's the details is the thing that is going to One of the things that I've learned is know your skill level, and know your like your angle. What's your angle? You know, there's many people that paint loose that want to be hyper realist in the same painting, and it's like you can't be loose and hyper realist at the same time, or loose and photographic. And the people that paint loose and that the painting looks photographic, especially watercolor artists, or many times it's watercolor artists. Some of them they're oil painters that the painting almost looks like there was a smudge because it looks loose, but it's really very highly representational and realistic. Like, know what your skill level is, and just be fine with it. Just be fine with it. It's not going to change overnight. And just because you spend more time on a painting, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden your painting is going to look, 10 times better. It won't. Your skill level is your skill level. There's no way around it. The only way around it is with time, it'll start moving with practice in the direction that you want it. But see, many of us are confused. And I say this with all respect. I say this because it's happened to me many times. We don't realize what our angle is. Your angle could be loose brushwork like mine. And if you don't recognize what your angle is, you're going to be obsessing over realism. And if you're obsessing over realism in your paintings, then you really don't know what your angle is. Like, you're lost in wanting to be so many things at once. One of the things that I believe my artwork is like I paint very shamelessly, if that makes any sense. If you are rock and roll, don't try to be. If you're blues, don't try to be classical music. This used to happen with musicians. I remember I used to be a musician, and you saw these guys that play in punk bands, but they were obsessed trying to play flamenco guitar, and that wasn't their thing. But they were obsessed trying to get like those notes right. And I'm like, you guys are very confused as to what you play. And so what happens is that you put yourself in a situation that is so difficult to do that you put yourself in a perfectionist situation. It's so difficult to do that you cannot overcome. Right? In other words, you put yourself in the perfect bad situation. Like, oh, how can I make this more realistic? Dude, you can't. You're not a realist painter. Right? You can't make it more realistic. How can I make this more, I don't know, whatever, right? Like, you can't. I mean, you can. You could if you want to. You can obsess over it, but that's not your jam. That's not your jam. Richard says you have 200% confidence, but don't care about being judged. I mean, I do care. But I learned how to put it away, right? I do care about it, but I'm trying to put it away because otherwise it won't let me create. And here's a problem that happens to most of us. If you're still there, Chanel, I don't know if you're still there. It happens to many of us. I would say most artists. We equate something being sold for skill set, for skill level. And those two things don't go together. If you don't sell something, or if you put something at auction and it doesn't sell well, 9 out of 10, it's not the painting. The problem is that nobody saw it. There wasn't people seeing it. So there's a little extra tip for you guys out there. If you make a painting and you're like, man, I haven't sold it. It's not because the painting sucks. Like, I wish you guys knew this. It's not because your painting sucks. It's because your painting hasn't found the buyer. And the reason why it hasn't found the buyer, it's because you spend time creating the artwork, but not time promoting it. And so this happens a lot to artists, where we're like, oh man, my work is not being, like, I can't sell my work. Well, no, it's not that you can't sell your work. It's that the work is not being seen. That's all. The whole problem is that the work hasn't been seen. So you tell yourself that there must be something wrong with the painting, but I promise you, there's nothing. If you're working on your skill set and you're learning and you're painting, especially if you've been doing it for years, it's not your painting. It's your marketing. Your marketing sucks. So, or you haven't been aggressive enough with marketing. With marketing, you have to be very aggressive. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Marketing is one of those things that you have to be very, very fucking aggressive, or else it's just not going to work. So, I'll leave you guys with that. Chanel says, I don't know why sometimes I want to try to be more realistic. So many teachers have tried to break me from that habit. I don't even like realism. Yeah, it's because we're trying to get... we equate... Most artists equate realism with something being good. You know, if there is enough representation, then I did a good job, and that's not the case. But we think that. We also think that the more realistic the painting, the more we can sell, or the higher price points we can get, and that's definitely not true either. I've proven that over and over and over again. I used to paint more realistic some years ago, and that did not change. The only thing that's made a difference in what I've done is concerning selling artwork, getting it out into the marketplace. It's marketing. Marketing is the thing that separates. Because when we're painting, we're trying to make it more realistic because we're trying to put more value into it. That's really what happens with most artists. What happens is that, the more realistic I make it, the more valuable it is. That's not true. It's not the 1800s anymore. That's not true. So I'll leave you guys with that. Take care. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye bye.